So what is up, guys? This is Nick here from Everything Tech, and welcome to this full review of the Samsung Galaxy On5. Now, this is going to be a full in-depth customizable review where you can go down below in the comment section or the description area, and you can go to the sections you want to see on the phone, whether that is the camera you want to see, just the build quality, the performance of this device, or whatever it is you want to see. We're going to get into everything you need to know about this phone right here, right now. So if you want to see that, let's go. All right, guys, so let's begin this video with a hardware tour slash the ergonomics of the Samsung Galaxy On5. So the front of this device does have a 5-inch 1280 by 720 pixels display, and I'm going to boot this up while we are talking about the device really quickly. You can see Galaxy On5 powered by Android. Now down here at the bottom of the device, you're going to see that we do have a hardware capacitive key, typical Samsung stuff, a multitasking switch key, and a back key. Now these do not light up. If you can see, they are just painted in a shiny chrome. You can see the T-Mobile logo right there. At the bottom of the device, you're going to find yourself the micro USB port that's not USB-C, that's your standard micro USB port, which is not a problem. A lot of us are used to that by now. A 3.5 millimeter headset jack, a microphone port here. Now, going to the right side of the device, let me power that off so we don't have accidental taps. Going on to the right side of the device, you're going to find yourself kind of there's like a little bit of a fake plastic metal around the sides. It's not real metal, but it's like a fake one. And there's like a little bit of a different color in there as well. So it's like shiny at the lip, and then going towards the back, it's more of like a sparkly, glittery silver at the bottom of that. And I kind of like it. It looks pretty clean, if you ask me, on the Galaxy On5 here. So on the right side, you're going to find yourself a power button right there. Now, taking it up to the top side of the front of this device, you're going to see that I do have a 2 megapixel camera here, Samsung logo here, and an earpiece for talking there. Now, at the top of this device, there is nothing but a mic port right there. You can see, let me focus in, you can see the mic port right there. Going off to what would be your left side of this device is going to be the volume rocker switch. Let me focus that in as well. You can see the volume rocker switch right there. Going off to the back, there is a faux leather texture, which looks very nice in person. And for a $100 device, you would not even know that this is a $100 device. It's really premium feeling, this back, cover. For being plastic, it's one of the better feeling plastics. You got a flash right here and this is a speaker grill right here. Samsung logo with no branding, which I do like. There's no T-Mobile branding on this phone, so it just looks like a straight up Samsung device, which is always welcomed if you ask me. Now let me go ahead and take the back of this device off really quickly here before we get into the back. So you do have your traditional and our loved removable cover on the Samsung Galaxy On5. And I'm not going to take it out, but this right here is a, let's see, that is a 2600 milliamp hour battery there. And you do have a micro SD card slot where you can insert a storage card up to 128 gigabytes, I believe it is on this device. And you can insert your, what does that say, nano SIM, I believe it is? No, it's a micro SIM there. So a micro SIM on this device right here. So pretty cool stuff right there for the Galaxy On5. In terms of the ergonomics of this device, it's very nice to hold in the hand. It's got flat sides, so it's kind of like the Galaxy Note line with the flat sides. And that's a nice thing because it doesn't slip out of your hands. Like something, I reviewed the Galaxy Express Prime, aka the Samsung Galaxy J3 earlier this year. And because of its curved sides, it would easily slip out of the hand, which I mentioned in that review. But on this guy with the faux leather back, combined with its flat sides, very easy to grip, and ergonomically, it's a nice phone, easy to reach the corners. I mean, if you got tiny hands, it's not going to be super easy to reach the corners. It is a 5-inch display after all. But that's pretty much everything you need to know about the build quality and the ergonomics of this device. Now let's get into the software of this device. Before we get into software of the Galaxy On5, I do want to mention the specifications of this device. Let me go on the CPU-Z, which I downloaded here on the Samsung Galaxy On5. But this does have a quad-core Exynos 3475 CPU that's clocked in at 1.30 gigahertz, and that's quad-core, so 4 cores. Lower powered cores, but highly optimized because they're from Samsung themselves. So they optimized their chip for this hardware. So this is a better running device than say a Snapdragon lower end, Samsung device. I always like the Exynos versions from my experience. Now you might say that's biased, and maybe it is, but this is just my experience. You don't have to take it on as truth, but I'm just telling you how I see it. Every Exynos Samsung that I've used always performed better and doesn't get as hot as a Samsung with a Snapdragon processor. Now this does have the T720 GPU, a lower end GPU here, and it does have 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. Go right here, you could see, but it only shows up to 1.4, so it might be a little less, but it's like 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. And storage, this is where this phone really hurts, is the storage. There's only 8 gigabytes of storage with only 3.88 available to the user. If I go and show you that I did download some applications here and I go into the settings of this device, I'm gonna go down into storage here. Let me go to storage, but remember this phone's only $100, so you can't expect everything. But at the same time, there is a lot of phones that are really cheap now that offer a lot of bang for the buck. So 8 gigabytes of storage is really kind of unacceptable right here in 2016 Samsung. I mean, even people with lower end devices, just because they got a lower budget doesn't mean that they're not with the times and they still want to take a bunch of pictures and download a bunch of apps. If you're gonna make a budget device, at least throw 16 gigabytes in there at least. So 8 gigabytes is a little bit of a downside, but we'll talk more about that later. Now let's talk about the software a little bit in this next section. So we mentioned the specifications on the Samsung Galaxy On5, but now I want to get into the software of this device and show you a little bit more about it because this is really important. Software is what matters these days, and I would argue that software is probably the most important aspect after having a fast processor, great battery life in a phone, because that's what you interact with every single day. So let's go down to about device on our Samsung Galaxy On5 here, and you can see we are running Android version 6.0.1 Marshmallows, or Marshmallow. Tasty, yummy. But basically this is like the latest Android version that you could get. I said Android, I'm thinking about Samsung Galaxy On5, so I said Android. Android version that you could get on a Samsung device here in 2016 until they update to Android 7.0. Now somebody in the comments said, I don't think that phone's getting Nougat, but I would beg to differ. I believe this phone will get Android Nougat as it has 6.0.1. Why wouldn't they update it to Nougat? Samsung has been pretty, decent with their updates lately. They do take a while to push them out, but eventually they do get them. Now, in terms of the software, this is where you're really gonna love this device. The software is just like what you would get on the Samsung Galaxy S7, the S7 Edge, the Note 5, the Samsung Galaxy S6. So all their premium phones. The only phone that has a different UX is going to be the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 and possibly the upcoming Galaxy S8 next year. But for the rest of this year, you're pretty much up to date and current with this software with the white theming going on here. You do have a couple of features up here in the notification drawer. You do have location, sound, and you could edit and move these around. You do have a flashlight, which you could turn on your flash right there. And by the way, that flash does get sufficiently bright enough. I don't want to blind you right there, but it does get sufficiently bright enough. You do have ultra power saving mode, which is always welcome, and power saving mode, which is very welcome here on this device, as we're going to talk more about the battery later. Going through the general UX though, you can see if I go into hold down, we do have the ability to change our wallpapers here on Samsung's TouchWiz UI, and they give you these nice new wallpapers, but you can easily go into the Play Store if you want and get the Note 5 wallpapers or the Note 7 wallpapers and customize it to your liking. I mean, that is the beauty of Android here. Now, I'm just gonna leave it like so, and I'm gonna go into that one more time and show you that we do have the ability to put widgets on our home screen, which is, standard stuff for Android. We know this already, but I just wanna mention the features in this software. So we do have theming here. This is awesome. You do get the Samsung theme store, which I haven't accepted because I haven't put themes on this device yet. But you can see, you can scroll through here, and it does take a little bit of time to load up. I mean, this isn't the fastest device in the world. It's not gonna blaze fast like right open, but it's not gonna be so slow that you're gonna be waiting all day. But you can go find themes and customize it to your heart's content here with this Samsung device, which is awesome if you ask me. I love having it. It's amazing to have themes on here. So going back home, if we go here and I go into screen grid, we have the ability to change our screen grid to 5x5, which is going to give you a look like so. Let me apply that. It's going to give you a look like so. And then if I go here and I go into screen grid and I go to 4x5, it's going to give me that ability. And also it's going to give me the other ability, which is 4x4. So you can really get customized here with your, Samsung Galaxy On5 here. Going into the app drawer, you have the ability to create folders in here. You have the ability to edit this drawer and make it customizable or alphabetically. And you do have all the newer icons that you would get in the Samsung Galaxy, like I say, Galaxy S7, S6 Edge, Note 5. So that's what I really love about this device. Very cheap, but gets you on that no premium look and feel user interface. And you do have the ability to make like folders in here and change the color of the folder in the application. You can see it just turned green. You can make this one blue here. Now, I haven't checked if that T-Mobile bloatware is uninstallable, but there is some T-Mobile bloatware in here, a few things, nothing too bad. I'm not really upset about that. But let's see if we can disable this. And you could turn off these so they won't even show in your drawer here. So let's see if we can disable all of them. So you can't disable all of them. T-Mobile wants you to pay your bill. I mean, well, I don't know why you wouldn't, unless you're just using this device as like a little side toy. But yeah, you can disable some of them. So minimal bloatware to hardly no bloatware and no T-Mobile branding, like I said before, on this device. So if you want a clean device with clean software, you're going to get it here with the Samsung Galaxy On5. And in terms of how does the software perform, I found it to be pretty slick. I mean, it's typical TouchWiz. There is some lag here and there. Going into the settings, we need to check the settings as well. So going into the settings, you do have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, airplane mode. You do have mobile hotspot and tethering if you're on T-Mobile's network. They've always had that feature. More connections and settings. You have a smart manager where you can go in this manager, and basically this is like a task manager where you can clean out your device. I'm not going to do it now, but that's pretty awesome there. You have applications. Let's see what we have in advanced features here. So you have quick launch camera, which is awesome. I love this feature. It's so amazing on the Samsung Galaxy of the world. So you double click and you're in your camera. You can snap a picture really click really quick of this, background here image that we have. So you can snap your picture really quick like that. And that's cool because if you're trying to get a moment, that double click does really come in handy. You have smart alert, which allows you to flip over the, phone when somebody's ringing to, turn it off. You have easy mute. And surprisingly, for those of you with small hands, you do have one-handed input, which is very awesome. Now it's a little bit tricky to get that one-handed input, activated. I think you got to kind of come out from the sides. Let me see if I can get that activated really quick. Advanced features, one-handed input. See, how does that work? No, it's triple click. I believe it's triple click. So actually it's pretty easy. Triple click 3 times and you can knock the screen down a little bit. So it turns into basically an iPhone 4. So you got an iPhone 4 over here and you can easily return to full screen. So yeah, let's go back into settings. And I think that's pretty much it in terms of the advanced features. You have theming like we talked about earlier, home screen, lock screen security, easy mode for those of you who need an easier mode and you don't really, or you're buying this for like a parent or somebody who's just not very familiar with smartphones. You got that on board here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Typical Samsung TouchWiz of the modern day look and feel. And the software does perform, like I say, it performs pretty well. I think you're going to be happy. I would recommend you go into settings and enable your developer options and put this phone, if you do decide to pick this phone up, on 0.5 animations, because 0.5 animations will really help out this device because it's not the fastest in the world. As you can see, now it feels a little bit quicker here on the Galaxy On5. But overall, applications do work properly and they open up pretty quickly. I don't think if you're doing anything heavy, you're going to be too disappointed inside this device. But this is definitely not a flagship level device. But yeah, that's the software. I'm going to end it there. It was a pretty long section, but there's quite a bit to cover within a Samsung software section. Now let's get into the next section of this review, which is going to be my positive aspects of this device. So my personal positive aspects. All right, guys, my personal positive aspects of the Samsung Galaxy On5. So my personal positive aspects are the design. It looks pretty. I think in person, you'll be happy with the design for the price you pay. Remember, the price you pay. This is not, a flagship device, but I do believe that if you're holding this from a distance, somebody's gonna think that you paid maybe $400 or $500 for another Samsung device. I mean, it looks from a distance like a premium Samsung device. I would have to get up close and inspect this to know that this is not an expensive Samsung device. It fits right in line with their premium devices for a cheap price, which is pretty awesome because not all Samsungs do that. But I think this one does look pretty awesome and very, premium for its price point. So that's my first positive aspect. My other positive aspect of this device is going to be its camera on the rear. It's pretty decent. So the camera on the rear is pretty decent for its price. But let me get this straight, for its price, you're not going to be stunned with this camera. This is not going to blow you away, but I think you're going to be happy with the modes that you get in this camera, the pro mode, the sports mode, and all the features that are included. The quality itself is not the greatest, but the camera itself is enjoyable to use. It's got the quick launch feature, and for a 5 megapixel camera, it takes pretty solid shots in daylight. In low light, not the greatest. Now, what's another one of my positive aspects? Another positive aspect is the overall build quality. So the phone itself, sans the design. So we were talking about design, but when I talk about build quality, I'm talking about the way it feels, not the way it looks. I was talking about the way it looks. Now I'm talking about the way it feels. It feels like it's well put together. Even though it's a plastic device, all the seams, there's no creaks and pops. When you snap the doors close on this device, there's no creaks and pops. You snap them in and they're set to go. This home button feels nice and clicky, doesn't feel cheap at all. And the sides of it don't creak in your hand at all, which the older Samsungs used to do. So the build quality, I'm liking that. It feels like a decent device for its price of $100. Now, let's get into my negative aspects. Those were my positive aspects. Let's get into my negative aspects of the Samsung Galaxy On5. Got a couple of negative aspects of the Galaxy On5, and let's begin with the screen. The screen, while it's a TFT panel 720p, it looks pretty decent. It's very reflective, as you can see right there. You can see my whole light, you can see all my smudgies, and if you got OCD, you're gonna need your microfiber cloth, and you're gonna be doing this all day unless you get one of those, tempered screen glass protectors. And I hate to say it, but I think even the tempered screen glass protectors don't pick up as much fingerprints as the glass on here. I don't even know if this is glass. This feels like a plastic display. Another negative aspect I have with this phone is the front-facing camera is whack. You're not gonna like the front-facing camera if you're into the selfie game. And the rear camera quality, I was talking about the features and how it's fun to use and stuff, but the quality itself, I think, is gonna disappoint you just a little bit if you're expecting greatness. When you pick up this phone, do not expect greatness. This is not a great device. It's not gonna blow you away. So I'm not saying it's a bad device for any of you out there who have it. I don't believe in good or bad. I just believe that everything is equal. They just have different positives and negatives. But this, this device is just not gonna blow you away. It's gonna be pleasing, but it's not gonna blow you away. I mean, you get what you pay for in this life. So yeah, that's another negative aspect. What's another negative aspect? The battery life, 2600 milliamps. It didn't prove to be the greatest battery life. I was able to make it through a day, but no more than that. Some of these budget phones though can shock you and go like 2 days. But this one day, if you're a decent user, if you're a light user, any phone could go like 2 days. But if you're, a typical user doing your social media stuff, going through your apps, text messaging, calling, this phone is not going to get you more than 1 day on a charge. And it doesn't include fast charging, which is another negative. But that's it on the negatives. I want to keep it kind of balanced, positive to negatives. There's positives and negatives. We got to address both situations here. And those are the negatives that I have on the Samsung Galaxy On5. Now, let's get into the camera and the camera features. All right, guys, so we did talk about the camera earlier. So from the lock screen, you can go into the camera just by swiping like so. And then you could just tap to focus and fire your picture off there. So you can see you do have the, the newer Samsung UI. So you can double click to get in as well. You do have the newer Samsung UI in auto mode. If you go to modes here, you do have pro mode, panoramic, continuous shot, beauty phase, sport, and sound shot. Going back, you do have the ability to toggle this over, and it only goes up to 5 megapixels, which is kind of a bummer, as I talked about earlier. 5 megapixels today and age is like putting 8 gigabytes of storage in this device like they did. But 4x3, 3.1 megapixels, and it goes down the line. You could read that, pause the video if you care to know about that. But you do have your flash, and you do have a timer, which is always welcome. Love having timers. Effects, pretty decent effects, and the ability to record. So you just tap here, and you could record there. You can put your flash on while you're recording. Doesn't look like you could take a picture while recording. Let's see if we could do that with the volume button. So no volume button to take a picture there. And yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of the camera itself. Let's go to more here. You can add a shortcut to the home screen of one of these shots you want to do, which is pretty awesome if you ask me. So if you go there, see where that shortcut is. So you have the panoramic feature there, for example. Now, in terms of the picture quality, judge for yourself. I'm not going to put too many because this camera was, you know, it wasn't impressive enough for me to go out and do a full camera review. I don't think much people are going to buy this phone just for its camera. All right, guys, let's talk about the battery life of this device. Now, I talked about it in my negative aspects, but I want to talk about it a little bit closer. So I took this phone off charge at about 9 o'clock a.m. and about 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'm a pretty heavy user. I was almost dead. I had about, 10% left. And with a 720p display and a 2600 milliamp hour battery on Android 6.0.1, I was expecting a little bit more, but it didn't take me fully through the day. So if you're a heavy user, this phone is not going to take you fully through the day. If you're a light to moderate user, this phone will go a full day. Now, if you're looking for 2-day battery life, you're not going to get it here on the Samsung Galaxy On5. But in terms of battery life, if you go utilize the features that Samsung includes, then you can really help yourself out here, and that'll really help you out a lot. Use the power saving mode and the ultra power saving mode. Now that'll take you maybe 2 days, and the ultra power saving mode will take you many days because it has it turns the phone into a dumb phone basically. So it will take you many days on the ultra power saving mode. But battery life, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. I can't give it, I had to take 2 points off because it's very solid, but it's just not, gonna be super long battery life. So yeah, that's the battery life for me, my experience on the Galaxy On5. If you have a Galaxy On5 and you have a different experience, please drop it down below in the comments because, not all of our experiences are the same. I mean, these devices that I review on this channel or, that you see on YouTube, they're mass producing these devices. So somebody could get the faulty battery or somebody could get a device that just doesn't do quite as good as the other one. I mean, we've seen this in the Chipgate scandal with Apple, the Samsung chip and the TSMC chip. One phone was getting slightly better battery life while the other wasn't. So, when you're mass producing things, not everybody has the same experience. So go ahead and drop yours down below if you have one. But for me, my verdict is in on the battery life. It's a solid 8 out of 10. Now let's get into the gaming performance of this device. The Samsung Galaxy On5 does rock the GPU, which is the Mali T720, which is a budget, GPU, and it was able to play casual games such as Temple Run just fine. I did load up Real Racing. I took it off of here for storage, issues. I mean, it is an 8 gigabyte, and I wanted to have enough storage to do some of my app tests. But you can see right here, pretty decent. You've seen a little bit of chop there. I mean, you could play games here. It's not going to, blow you away in terms of its speed. Let's go into Slither. It's not going to blow you away in terms of its load times and its speed. But I think if you have just a slight bit of patience, you'll be able to play games and enjoy your time here on the Samsung Galaxy On5. But it's by no means a boss or a beast in gaming. I mean, it's $100 after all, and the price shows. But don't get me wrong, casual games will run just fine, and you could really enjoy yourself here with some games. But one nice thing about it is it's, 5-inch screen. It's a lovely display for its size, which is great for those of you who want to play games. 5 inches is a pretty standard, pretty good big size screen there. So you can play games. Just be aware that some of the higher, the higher quality games, the more Real Racing, the Final Fantasies, the RPGs, the games that require more power are going to cost you a little bit more money in a device than this one did. And don't expect this one to perform, at beast levels. It's just not going to do it. But it will suffice for those of you playing a quick casual game. And if you want to try to push it, you can try those games. You can probably get by if you can live with a little bit of choppiness, just a little bit of choppiness here on the Galaxy On5. Now let's get into the final verdict of this device and who it's for. I'm gonna cap this review off by talking about who this device is for. Well, this device is free basically if you sign up with T-Mobile right now, free Galaxies. 4 people come and give you 4 free Galaxies. I mean, it's a cheap device, it's free, it's affordable, it's Samsung, it's latest Samsung, modern UX, theme store, kind of in line with their newer devices, look and feel. Who is this for though? This is for somebody who wants to save money, period. You want a Samsung device and you want to save money, period. You could fall into many of those categories, but also this device is for somebody like a kid or somebody going to college that, they got to buy their books and, they need a phone to back them up until, They can pay off their books, they can save up a little bit of money and go pick up something like the iPhone 7 or something they want to get that's, just a little bit, more expensive and can give them a little bit more power to get creative with their devices or do whatever they got to do, productivity, whatever they want to do on their device. Until then, this little Samsung Galaxy On5, I don't think will disappoint you. And you could literally use this phone for the rest of this year. And I think you'll be pretty fine as long as you're not coming from the expectations of a flagship user. Now, I come from the perspective of using flagships, and I could still say that I love this device. It's beautiful design. I could use this, I could sell all my flagships and use this device, and I wouldn't be feeling like I'm behind the times. Just because it has a weaker camera, you can get a dedicated camera for like $100 you use, like a WB350 or something. You can get some other dedicated things like a laptop or iPad, spend a little bit more money on that if you want a better screen, faster speeds. But just for a phone, it's a solid phone and I love it. It's great. And I think you will too if you're coming from the perspective of not expecting a great amount, but expecting a solid performer. You're going to be happy here with the Samsung Galaxy On5. And that's pretty much going to wrap this review up for me. I hope this helped you in deciding if this is going to be the device for you. And if you did decide, go ahead and be sure to comment that down below. Let me know. It makes me feel good to know that you guys made your decision based off one of my reviews. And also share this with anybody you think might be interested in this device. It helps out, the channel. It helps them out. And just share it with the community. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more technology videos like this. Be sure to have a great day wherever you are. And peace.